Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Nothing But Fishing. And firstly, sorry it's been so long since my last upload on here. Two reasons for that. One of which is I'm a lazy really when it comes to making videos at the moment, and two, we've been in lockdown. We haven't been able to go fishing, haven't been able to get out, so it's bliss that we're all able to get back out on the banks now, albeit in a slightly different way with social distancing and sanitising everything. It's the new norm and it's bliss to be back out. I'm sure you'll all agree. I just can't wait for hairdressers to open back up again now, because as you can see, I desperately need a trim. Or a whole shaving, some people will probably say. Anyway, I'm on the banks of Bearley Lakes. So the last time I fished here was about 7, 8 months ago. Myself and Marielle came here. We had one of the caravans for the week, which is something you can do, or you can book a caravan on the lake, and then you've got the lake at your disposal. You come and go as you please, use it as a holiday place and use the lake as well. But we had a brilliant session. I lost a few fish unfortunately, but I caught a fair few, all the way up to 19 pound 15 ounces, and my personal goal was to catch something over 20. So I feel like there's a score to settle with this place. I did lose a few, and I'm sure a couple of those probably were some of the bigger size ones. I could tell that from the fights. So I'm back and hopefully going to settle the score with this place. I'm actually the only one on here at the moment. There's now 6 swims available on it, so some of the swims have been closed down. There's some new huts. The place is beautiful, same as last time. It's so mature here and so just tucked away in the countryside. It's absolutely bliss. So I'm going to stop jabbering on, get the rod sorted, and hopefully get something over the next 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so we are almost falling over the back of the bed chair. We are almost ready to put the rods out. Now, on here there is a sort of a lead core band or leader band, so you can use tubing, but I've opted just to go for naked mainline with 3 blobs of putty just to weigh down that last couple of feet from the rig, going down to a lead clip setup. So just a standard, really basic setup there, so that if the fish shakes his head violently or comes into contact with any kind of weed or lilies, there's a lot of lilies on here, discharge the lead quite simply like that. So then I'm direct contact with the fish, less stuff gets stuck on anything, and we're sorted. And then we're down to the bottom end. Really simple rig once again, just a braided hook link with about an inch or so supple section down by the hook end, little blob of putty where it goes from coated to uncoated, little tubing kicker on the eye, a little bit of tubing on the shank of the hook as well, going down to a cultured squid with a topper of a pop-up piece of corn, just get a little bit of buoyancy and a bit more visual aspect to it, and that just turns in the hand every single time. Exactly exactly the same rig I was using last time I was here, and it's done me well at other places, and I can tell that's really sharp because it's gone through my skin and out the other side, and now it's back out. So there we go, pin sharp or tack sharp, and very, very simple. Now all I'm going to do is lower these baits out with the baiting spoon that I've got with me, just because I don't want to be casting around. I want to get nice and close to some of the snags and things. I've already seen several fish roll in on the fire pads, some on the pads just in front of me here. I'm going to put one up in the top corner by the pads again, just because I've seen lots of fish moving around that. And in the bait spoon, it's going to be putting some boilie flake, some whole boilies as well, and just tipping that all on the spot. So quite a concentrated baiting area around the hook bait, and then I probably will put a few free offerings sort of by hand or catapult around the area, but where the rig is, it's going to be a concentration of bait, and hopefully that'll do me the trick. Now this is only one rod ready to go, so I've got the other 2 to do, but I'm not going to do all 3 then get all 3 out. I'm going to get them out in stages so that it maximises the time of potentially having a bite. So there we go, let's get that out. Whipping me. That's a bite. Got to keep the pressure on because he's in the pads. Whoosh. That battery's about to die, but I hope it caught the take. Oh, he's right on the line of the pads. Feel it grating. Come on. Come on, get your head up. Oh, don't get your head up there. Nice, off the mark. Mega start. This is on the first rod that went out to the pads over in the corner. The first rod you saw me put out. Been out what, 40 minutes I'd say. Had a few touches on it. And here we have the first fish. I haven't weighed it, but I'd give this around the 17, maybe 18 mark. Lovely, lovely fish. Immaculate condition. And that came in pretty easy until it got right to the rod tips, realised how close it was to me, then bolted out a few times. But beautiful, beautiful fish. So happy with that. Great start to the session. Sign of things to come. And I didn't even have all 3 rods out. I was still just about to get the 3rd rod finished and ready to go out, and then this one went. And what a bite as well. Fishing locked up because I'm by the pads. Just a few baits and it was smacked around. Beautiful. I'll show you both sides because it is immaculate, as they all are in here it seems. And there we go. Beautiful. Hopefully a sign of things to come for the session. Let's get it back. Now before I slip that fish back, I did weigh it just out of curiosity, and I was pretty much bang on. It was a couple of ounces shy of 17 pound. So a lovely start for the session, I think you'll agree. A beautiful fish. Before I put that rod back out, I had the 3rd rod ready to go, and there's been a lot of fish showing just in this bay. In fact, there's one just at the moment under the surface. So it's the same as before. Same bait as what I just had the first fish on, only this one's got a pink topper rather than yellow. But the principle's the same. A little bit of visual attraction at the very top of the bait, and the rest is all match the hatch. I'm going heavily with the Scope It squid, just because that's what I use anyway, and it's also what they feed on this place. So the fish are used to it, they know it's good for them, they enjoy it, so it makes sense to use the same. So a little bit of the flake in the bottom, in goes the rig, some boilies as well, and then some of the spod syrup. So let off the bail arm. Now this one I'm going to have to drop out and then thread the rod back down the bank because I'm down a swim. This swim's no longer in use, I think. But there's been a lot of fish showing in this bay. There's no one else here, and the owner did say that a few fish have been coming out from there, so that's what I'm going to do. So just going to scoot this out, fast forward this bit. So I'm going to close the bail arm. Get the line out of the water. It's now above the spoon. Twist the spoon, and there we go. Everything's fallen out. It's basically the same as a bait boat, only a bit more precarious with the spoon. But there we go. So I'm gonna come get the spoon in a sec, but thread this rod back down the bank. Oh yeah, since you last saw me, I'm getting addicted to coffee. Oh. Don't worry, I've also got some cider in there, but I'm trying to pace myself. It's not even 5 o'clock yet, and I've been getting pretty bad during lockdown because essence of time kind of goes out the window, and you think, cider on my Kellogg's, what's wrong with that? I'm not going anywhere today. So definitely need to rein it back a little bit. Mainly because the stomach's getting a little bit bigger as well. That's all a load of random jabbering on, as I always do. I've caught a fish, which is a great start, and that was on the right hand rod, as I've said, which was on the up to the pads, and I just put it back out again. So I've now got all 3 rods back out. I'm still seeing the same fish, I'm sure it's the same fish, cruising up and down just below the surface of the pads opposite where I've got my middle rod. So if he decides to get his head down by a couple of feet, then I'm sure I'll pick him off. But yeah, cracking start. And now just to give you a bit more of an idea of where I'm fishing to on the lake, I'm 2 swims down, I think, from where I did a lot of my fishing on the previous video in the hut. Now the swim either side of me are now closed down. They've sort of stripped back some of the swims on it to give you a bit more space. But rod wise, I'll show you the drone shots from last time I was here. I'm kind of fishing the other side of the pads where I had a few bites last time up in the hut swim. So the right hand rod which I've had the fish has gone right up tight to a little gap in the pads, sorry, between the pads and the island, and kind of under a tree. Looks proper at carpy. Middle rod has just gone straight across, as you saw, in between a little gap again in the pads, right where they kind of end. And there's a few pads dotted here and there to the left of that rod. And then the left hand rod has gone down under the tree where I've seen several fish roll today. David also said that a few fish have been coming out from there recently, so I've got them fairly spread out. So the 2 outside rods are that direction and the middle rod is straight across. So I'm not really congesting the swim. I can see a couple more fish just on the edge of the pads here. So there's definitely fish in the area. Feeling a lot better than, well, last time it took me quite a while to get my first fish actually. So to get one before I even got all 3 rods out is a great bonus. So roll on the next couple of nights. I'm sure we'll have a few more. Another mirror, and this one far less scales on it, almost a bit grey in complexion, but beautiful fish once again, perfect condition. Like I said, this one did need a bit more bullying to get him out the pads. Just held it solid, and eventually it kicked himself free. But there we go. Bit longer this one, different shape completely. As you can see, quite dark and grey in its colour. Barely any scales, just a few along the top and on the wrist of the tail, so it's not leather, but its skin does feel very leather-like. Happy days, and that's the same rod once again. So it's obviously the baits are working, the method's working, the spot's working, and there should be more to come. Like I say, I'll only show you the one side because it's virtually identical on both sides, but happy days. Ooh. There's his cue to go back. Good morning, and apologies if I look rough. I feel rough. I didn't get an ounce of sleep last night, whether it was the fish that seemed to be spawning on Rowan Lake behind me, or the odd beep every now and then on one of my rods, or having a fish, which was about an hour ago just before first light. I haven't had any sleep, but another lovely fish, this time a common, and virtually the same weight, 16 pounds 15 ounces, so 3 fish all within 6 ounces of each other, so not a bad average size. And again, this is on the same rod once again, the right hand rod to the pads, so that one spot is doing all the business at the moment. Hopefully the other rods will get in on the action at some point, but a lovely start to the morning. There's 3 fish already and not even been here, well, 24 hours I've been here since yesterday midday, Lovely. Slip it back, crack on with the day. I need coffee. I still need to get the rod I had that fish back out. Considering all the bites so far have been on the same rod, it's probably a bit silly that I've got it sat there, but I'm in no rush. I'm just taking it in the morning. As you can hear, I hope you can hear, the birds are in full voice this morning. Dawn chorus started well before dawn as well. I say about 3:30 one of them started piping up, so I've been listening to them for a couple of hours now. But I will be getting that rod back out, and I'm sure that that'll do some more bites as well. I've got the full day ahead of me now as well, because of course I got here yesterday midday. Didn't have the rods out till mid-afternoon because of quite a slow setup. Well, I've got a couple of days ahead of me and not in any rush. So I've got all of today, and it's meant to be pretty sunny, so it might be quite warm. It might be a case of trying out zigs potentially, because yesterday there was several fish patrolling up and down the far, like the island just around the pads. So if I can get a zig in their path, potentially could get me a few bites on those rods. I'm going to keep the right hand rod on that spot because it's doing the bites, so that is the plan of attack. But one other thing, if you don't follow me on social media, since my last video, right on the weekend before lockdown I was in Cornwall with my now fiance, because we got engaged. Oi oi! Guess who just got engaged? She said yes. Another Bosch on the lake behind, and yeah, that's big news for me. Unfortunately, we hadn't been able to have any kind of celebration with family or whatnot, because as soon as we got back from the holiday we went into full lockdown. So yet to have a proper engagement celebration or even a birthday celebration. I turned 26 as well, so lots of things that I'm sure it's the same for a lot of you as well, that a lot of things to celebrate once we can, but whether it'll be this year, who knows. But take the small things as they come, enjoy them as we get them, and fishing is certainly one big thing which is giving me a massive mental boost. Hopefully have a few more fish, but if not, it's lovely being out. So I'm now 3 coffees down and feeling a bit more awake, and unfortunately I just lost one on the same rod again. So I wound them all in and had a walk around the lake just to see if I could see any other fish, because quite a lot were boshing up in the margin up to my right. Just thought I'd have a walk around, see what was going on. Anyway, got back to my swim after not really seeing much else. Got the left one out, got the right one out, and I was just sorting out the middle one to go out. So I sat next to it and it went off, and just the bend in the rod, and bearing in mind I'm using 9-foot 3.5 pound test curve scope, so they're not exactly weak rods and they're quite short, so there's not a lot of give in them. Just that alone, locked up and the stretching the mono, was able to get the fish the other side of the pad. So I had it on for about 10-15 seconds and did the same as what I did yesterday, and just keeping the pressure solid and slowly confirming it. Pinged off through a couple of lilies and then just came straight off. So hook wasn't bent out, hook was fine. So I know it just simply ditched me in the pads, which is really frustrating. So I've made a slight change in that I've moved the left and middle rod onto the 2 bank sticks and put them that way, and I've now got the one going to those pads pointing directly at the pads. Still fishing locked up, and I've got the reel so it won't move. I've got a couple of pegs in front of the reel so it cannot slide anywhere. So all the fish has got is the stretch in the mono, which again at this sort of distance is probably quite easy to get across, but I'm hoping that straightaway resistance will try and entice it away. And I've moved the bivvy as well, so I'm right next to the rods. I felt I was a bit too far away last night. Although I still landed the fish that I caught, I felt like if I was a bit closer, obviously I can get on the fish a lot quicker. So today I'm very much going to be sat by the rods, I think. As soon as they go off, just be hitting hold, because I don't want to lose anymore. And it felt an alright fish as well. I know it's hard to tell on such a short fight, but it just blasted through the pads, came out the other side, boiled on the top, slowly came back, and then, like I said, ditched the hook. So those small changes I'm hoping will be in my favour of landing the next one. But it's a good sign. It's only 20 past 9 now, and I've already had a bite this morning, so back out there, lots of bait. They seem to be getting through the bait quite quickly, so fingers crossed the next one will be landed. Time for some breakfast. Well, there's a nice welcome break to the boredom of this afternoon. Really, it's been completely dead. He's going to flip, and there's been no action since I lost that fish this morning. No signs of fish really. The odd one mooching around on the top. I tried on zigs, no joy. Just moving the rods around because I was going to put the right rod out in the margin, which I've now done. And as I was rejigging the rods around, this rod went off in my hand. So didn't give me any issues, came straight away from the pads, and it's the smallest one of the lot at 14.10, but still very, very welcome. All the rods are back out again, so it's just a matter of time really. I feel like it's going to get better from now on. But beautiful scales on this one. Look at that sort of triangular shape of scales coming from its gill. It doesn't quite have it the same this side. That's definitely its prettier side. But once again, immaculate condition. Very, very welcome. Let's get it back. Never ever get bored of that first sip. It's just gone 6 o'clock, and I had one about 20 minutes ago. Didn't film it because it was probably not even £10, and anything that sort of size, I was asked when I got here if I caught anything under £13, it's going into one of the stock ponds because it was going to go elsewhere. So that's what I did. Didn't bother filming it. It was a pristine little common, same quality of fish as the rest, but yeah, just very small, so I didn't bother filming it. The rod's back out now. And that was on the left rod. That's the first bite on that rod that I've had, which is down under the tree, down to the left. So it's good to have a bite on a different spot. It's just the right-hand rod now that needs to go off with a fish then. I mean, all 3 rods were worth bringing and not just the 1 or 2. Just had a little touch on the rod to the pads where I've had most of my fish. Just a single beep, which made me run because fishing locked up. That's all I've been getting really, is 1 beep, but it was just like a little knock or something. But that's a good sign. Could be that there's fish in the area. It's about the time now where I would expect to get some bites. It's cooling down. The wind's picked up actually. It's a bit more overcast. It just generally looks a lot carpier, without sounding cliche, but it does. And it's quite warm today actually, considering the forecast is meant to be quite grotty all week. It got up to upper teens I think today, about 18, 19 degrees. And without the wind it was quite stuffy, so now it's cooled down a bit, much more comfortable. And from what Jules was saying, 6 o'clock onwards seems to be the bite time, and it's exactly that time now. So looking forward to the night ahead. I got a bit more bait off of them because I rattled through the bait that I had, so I'm going to bait fairly heavily now. I got an extra 2 kilos off them, so that'll all be gone before I leave. And when I've been putting each rod out, as you saw, I haven't kept on showing you me using the bait spoon because it's quite a slow process, but each time I've been doing about the same amount of bait on each one. So a load of the flake stuff, some of the whole boilies, a bit of the spod syrup, and that all gets dropped exactly where the bait's going. And then I am putting a few catapults around, so there's still a spread of bait around an area, but where the rig is, there's a definite pile of bait. So if a fish comes across the massive bait and then hones in on a little parcel of, or a little mound of bait, that's where my hook bait is. And on the hook, with the you saw my rig, of course, I've just been sticking, grab one, just a little PVA bag, or PVA mesh with 2 boilies on, or 2 boilies in, shall I say. So that's all it is, and all I've been doing is putting the hook exactly in the middle of that. So I know that when it goes down to bottom, because there's silt in places, that's covering the hook to start with, so I know that it's not going to get masked by anything. Then when that dissolves, I've then got my hook bait and 2 other freebies right next to it, so it looks inviting. It's quite a bit of food in one area. It's not just my hook bait standing out amongst the rest. So if they're grazing around, picking up bits of bait everywhere and come across mine, there's 3 bits of bait there, and my hook bait, of course, is one of them. It's worked so far, so that's now 5 fish, 6 bites, 5 fish I think it is. So going well. And we've now got the rest of the night ahead of us, and I'll probably be heading off tomorrow mid-morning. But enjoying it. I've only got 2 cans for me tonight, but lovely and chilled. you all recognise that sound. An angry common in a sling. This was bite number 2 in the early hours of this morning. I say the early hours of this morning, it still is early. It's only just gone 4. Well, about half 4 in this first light, so I thought I'd get them out. Had 2 bites, well 3 bites actually. One of them resulted in nothing. That was the most recent bite. This one was the second of the 2 bites, and the first one just slipped back in the stock pond at the top because it was below 13 pounds, 12.5. This one, absolutely mental. There we go, one of 2 fish landed this morning, one other take, which resulted in nothing, lifted into nothing. It's the biggest one of the 2 landed. This one just gone over 14 pound. The other one was 12.5, so slipped that one straight back into the stock pond at the top. But yeah, good few bites, 0 sleep once again, so how I'm going to survive the rest of the day, I don't know. But this is why I've come fishing, of course, is to catch fish, and I've done that. Unfortunately not got amongst any of the bigger ones. Maybe the 2 that I've lost could have been those, but there's no guessing that. Let's get this one back and see if we can get something else from this morning. Okay, well, there are some big fish in here, but unfortunately I've been getting plagued by the tiddlers. This is my 3rd fish now going up to the top stock pond, and this is the smallest one of the lot. This one is probably about 8 pound. It's still nice to be getting the bites, but when you know there's fish, well, plenty of 20s in here, fish are up to 30, a grassy that may touch 40, it'd be quite nice to get amongst them. So the last 3 or 4 fish have been 14 pound or lower, so I think 3 of the last 4 have had to go in the stock pond. So very, very bad luck. It's the same wherever I go, it seems. Even on my own syndicate, I catch the tiddlers before the bigger ones. Got a couple of hours left, but yeah, this one is going in the stock pond just here. So stick him in there, get back to the rods, and hopefully get a big one before we go. Well, I feel like bite time has come and gone now. Much like yesterday, I got the bites on the first day from sort of mid-afternoon onwards, and then by early-ish morning, by about 9ish o'clock, that was my last bite for the whole day until mid-afternoon. And again, the bites have dried up. It's now 11:15. Not had any touches or anything for a while. I had a couple little weird liners and things, potentially fish in the area. I also had a pike winding one of the rods in, but more recently I've been getting picked up by the ducks and coots, which suggests that there's still bait there and the fish aren't. So I think they've moved on. They'll be the last things to come in, as they always are, but I'm going to start packing down now. And just in hope that one of them does still go off while I'm packing everything down. But I am absolutely shattered because of last night, with the fish coming sort of every now and then throughout the night from midnight onwards. I just didn't get any sleep again, so I'm absolutely shattered. I've run out of coffee, so I need to get back and recharge my own batteries and the camera batteries. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been lovely being back here once again and seeing Jules and Dave again. Lovely owners, really nice place. So if you haven't fished it before and it's on your radar, I do suggest you try and get yourself down here, because it's a beautiful place and some lovely fish to go at. I may not have shown you any of the real big ones in here, but I've seen the pictures and they're all beautiful. They're all as good condition as the ones I have caught, only a bit bigger. But like I said, still a slight chance of one, but if not, I don't care anyway. I hope you liked the video. Like it if you did. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. Please follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I do a lot of stuff on there between sessions, which is quite a while between the blogs, I'm afraid. But hopefully back to work soon. Things start to pick up with the world and all that's going on. And I hope this gave you some form of entertainment if you're still stuck at home with nothing else to do. But yeah, see you again soon.